really need some music.
Yeah, live stream music. Off we go. Nice one. All righty. I think we might be live. Yes, we are. Welcome everybody to Walking in the Shadows with Cryptid Women's Society. My name is Lisa.
I'm Juliet.
And that woman down there is Brittany Barbieri. And we are so excited to have this lady join us today on our podcast. I feel like the time between our conversations is way longer than what it should be.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I'm glad you agree.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're not like, oh gosh, like actually it's too soon.
No, it can never be too much.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us, Miss Brittany. It's lovely to have you here, all the way from the States to New Zealand to Australia. It's a three-way.
Always.
Always. We love the triangle.
That's right.
Now you're going to get all the conspiracy people going, got the triangle.
That's right. In any picture, any way you can, you got to put it out there. Illuminati, my friend, Illuminati. We're all together. We're all connected.
We just take a photo real quickly like this.
That's right.
Oh my God. That's going to be our profile picture right there. Oh my goodness. Brittany, you have been so busy. You've been out in the field, you've been filming, you've been at conferences, you've been doing just a ridiculous amount of stuff, along with being an amazing mum, a wife, running your house, doing everything else, and looking after life in general. So tell us about what's been going on.
Well, it's been busy. It's been crazy. Obviously, the last thing I was at was the lecture in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, which was amazing at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference. After that, it was come home, rush to make sure everything was getting set, everything was good. I feel like I went somewhere after that, though. I really do. I can't remember, but I do feel like we picked up and went somewhere after that. Like it was like boom, boom. And then it was like quiet time. And yeah, like I'm always going somewhere. We're always somewhere doing something. Right now in Florida, it is just too miserably hot to do any Florida field work. Sure. You got to like move towards Georgia and stuff like that. Like it's so miserable. We've been having like heat index up to like 115 feels like. So being outside is not a good idea right now.
Your humidity there is pretty bad too, isn't it?
Awful.
Yeah.
You literally can walk right out your door and immediately just turn into water.
Yeah.
Oh, it's disgusting.
Yeah. That's what Queensland's like. Queensland's the same. Like you get 90% humidity. It's ick. Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But yeah, I mean, just staying busy, doing what I can. It's like I said, it's always something. And now both the kids are in school. So like for the first time in 10 years, I'm having me time that I don't understand what this is. It's very strange.
Whoa, do you just sit here sometimes?
Enjoy it.
What am I going to do now? I've cleaned all the cupboards. Rearranged my kitchen.
Made the beds. Washing's done.
I will be honest, like the first day it was eerie and I didn't like it because my husband had to travel for work that week. And it was my first week that my daughter was in school with my son. And normally when we would come home, I would start her homeschooling. So like I had a schedule set and then I would do work when she was doing her playtime. And so I came home and it was like, I mean, the house was so quiet. It was creepy to me. I didn't like it. Like I didn't. So I immediately was like turning on music. I even made a reel because I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I would go from room to room and play with the kids. Like, I'm like, what the heck do I do? And then I was like, well, I mean, I could cover my work. I could get stuff done I need to do. So then it was just like figuring it out through this strange, like you're worried because it's their first year in school. It's their first day in school. And they've never been in school before. And then there's like that anxiety of they're apart from you. But then you're like, but I'm free. Is it okay to feel excited? Am I a bad mom if I'm excited to have this moment right now? So it's like, I was going through a lot on day 1 and day 2. And then by day 3, I was like, bye, I'll see you. I got work to do. Like It went by like that.
That
So
year goes past and you're like, oh, I don't feel well. I don't care.
yeah.
They can deal with it at school. If you're really sick, they'll send you home.
What do you mean you've got
I'll
a
hear
broken
from the
arm?
nurse.
You're fine. You can go.
That's right. Wrap that puppy up around the neck.
Off
You're
you
good.
go.
When we were young,
That's right.
we used to walk in snow for 4 hours with no shoes on, okay? You're going.
See, that's, I'm telling you, that's how it is. Like we grew up in a different time than these kids. I think they're spoiled.
Yeah.
We love them too much.
Yeah. My grandkids
We
are the
do.
same. Just totally. They get driven to school, picked up. Oh my God.
And one of the things I love about you, Britt, is that you're a mum, like you're a mum, you're a wife, you have a family, you are juggling more than one child, and you're doing all of this other stuff on top. And you really just kind of showcase what women are able to do and our strength and our determination and commitment as people that have to get stuff done, right? Like there's no time where you can sit there going, oh, I don't really need to, do that, or I don't really need to do that. We're always going, okay, cool, that's what needs to get done now. I might take 5 minutes, but that still needs to get done. We still need to be mums. We still need to do the washing. We still need to do A, B, C, and D, let alone running a business, let alone going and filming the Lost Monster Files on location, let alone doing all the other things that you're doing. So I really like you are such an inspiration to me personally. I know Juliet kind of feels the same way, being in this industry and meeting someone like you who's just got such a beautiful soul and is so willing to give to this amazing place and space. We just love it, and we hold you on such a high pedestal because you are literally doing everything that most of us are doing as well, but you're absolutely smashing it. So are there times when you feel like you're not smashing it?
Oh yeah, all the time.
It seems like on the outside you're just doing so much stuff and you're doing what we should be doing and what we want to be doing. So what does it really look like?
It's a mess and it's chaotic and it's definitely not pretty. And there are days where I think every mom has those days where they feel like they didn't give their kid enough attention that day, or like they weren't full good mom mode or good wife that day. And like I juggle with that. Like there are times where I have stopped and went, am I stretching myself too far? Do I need to take a step back and like really evaluate what I'm doing? And then I'm like, no, because I like all of this. I just need to figure out like the balance. And I've always said family first. I've always said that across the board, even with every job I've ever had. So it was like, I'm letting you know now that whatever I'm doing, if there's something more important going on with my kids at home, they come first. Like my family, my kids, priority. Yeah. So that's where it becomes sometimes good. I mean, and sometimes I'll involve the kids in my work. Like if there's a way that my kids can come with me into the field or on my work or on my travels or to conventions, I'll bring them. I don't care. Like I'd rather them be exposed to my work and see what I do and be a part of it than, I don't know. I just don't like leaving them out sometimes if they can be a part of it. But it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all.
It's a constant guilt feeling, isn't it? And yeah, that's it. And and like we're saying, women with and families with children, it's like, am I doing enough? It's like, you're exactly what you're saying. Am I spending enough time with them? Or, you're gone early in the morning, then you come back late at night and you're like, I've barely seen them, or I haven't seen them, I had to leave when they're asleep. I've come home, so it is. And I think that's, such a big thing with women, just that constant guilt that you feel, that constant worry, even though, my kids are growing up and I've got grandkids, it's still that same thing. You still worry. Like my son's floating around in Chile somewhere snowboarding and I still worry about him. He's a grown man, but you can't stop worrying about them. So it's something that I think all women kind of really struggle with, isn't it?
And it's hard to juggle that professionalism as well, because we're all really driven, right? To be in this sort of industry, in this space, and doing podcasts and interviews and getting out into the field and conferences and stuff, we're really driven people. And to balance that, like you said, Britt, to maintain that kind of, am I showing my kids enough attention? What about my husband or my partner, like my family?
Right.
Who are you
Them
guys?
too.
No.
Yeah.
You happen to be like, who's that? Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry guys. Sorry, mate.
No, it's so true. Field work is the worst because they have you flying out like way early in the morning, so you don't even get to see your kids wake up for breakfast or
Yeah.
anything, and then like you're flying in really wee hours at night to come in, really late. And I think my daughter made it hard, not on purpose, because she's
Oh,
only 4. But there'd be a couple times where I'm like, okay, I love you, I have to go for work. And she'd be like, are you going to be gone or are you just going to be in the office? And I'd have to look at her and be like, no, I'm going to be gone. And you would just see like the
hmm.
sadness, And I'm like, she
Yeah.
doesn't understand it yet. But like the payoff was more if my work is televised, there's more payoff for the kids because then they're like, that's mom on TV. Like,
Yeah.
so it's different. Then they understand why I was gone and what I was doing. And then I show them all the videos that I'm filming while I'm on the road and
Yeah.
I'm sending it to them and stuff. And they're like, oh, it's so cool. That's kind of how I broke that barrier. But being gone for 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks
Oh,
without being home,
Yeah.
like I remember just calling mom and like, I don't know if I can keep working like this. Like at this age with these kids at this age, like when they were younger or when they didn't realize that mom was gone because their clocks weren't like really paying attention because they were little. Like when I did Demi Lovato, my daughter was 6 months old. Like so I left her at home at 6 months old, which I never thought I would ever do, but I had to. Like
Yeah.
I'm like breast pumping on the boat. You know what I mean? Like I'm like making this work while I'm gone. And that was tough. I'm
yeah.
all the way across the United States, like from coast to coast away from my kids. That was like the first big like oh my
Yeah.
God.
I didn't realize
The
you
thing
did
is
that
that
at 6 months.
yeah, and that guilt never goes. Even though it's
No,
over and the kids don't even remember it, that guilt will sit with you. As a woman, we just
forever.
inherently hold that guilt about stuff that happened like, 20 years ago. You're like, oh, I wasn't
Yeah.
there for this, or I didn't get this, or yeah.
What
It's
was mine?
Yeah,
I missed my son's first steps because I put him into daycare because I had to at 6 months old, and the caregivers rung me and said, "Oh, Hunter's taken his first steps," and I was like, "Oh my God,
oh,
I missed
yeah.
it because I was working." Exactly the
Yeah.
same
yeah,
situation. Yeah. And you hold on to that. But I didn't know that you went and did that when your daughter was 6 months old. And it brings in so many other
yeah,
challenges after having baby and kind of doing all that sort of other stuff and then being literally
Yeah.
on a boat in the field. And
Diving. I was scuba diving out
I,
there. I was doing all of that after, and I had to make sure I was cleared to do it because I had a cesarean. So I had to make sure that even though it was 6 months prior, and like, I was like, I need to know that I'm okay to do this. And like, yeah, you're fine. You're good. So I was like, okay. So yeah, like
no.
you just got to be field ready. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. See, so many different things about you that I'm learning. Learning, like Garth Brooks. We'll go into that later. We're going to talk about Garth Brooks later.
Don't compare me to Garth Brooks. I'm just kidding.
No, God,
You are
no.
nothing like that, Brooks.
I don't think there is a comparison. He's got far more facial hair than you'll ever be able to.
True. Unless I
Um,
just shave very well.
Yeah. Get the 5 blades. Hmm.
That's right. I know
um,
Venus.
wow, we have started off to a cracker of a show. If anyone is watching and you've got comments or you've got questions for Britt, please drop them in the comment section on YouTube here. We're watching. We can absolutely ask those questions and get real-time answers. Anything that you want to ask about Bigfoot, about her field research, about the conference she's just been to. Can
That
I
was so
ask a
fun.
question?
Yeah.
So you have just been to the Smoky Mountains Bigfoot Conference, correcto?
Mm. Yep.
And you were a keynote speaker and you did a workshop of some sort. Can you run us through kind of what you did, what happened? Was this your first kind of stand-up talk at a conference, or is this something that you do quite often? You're pretty used to it. You don't get freaked out anymore. You're just on the stage doing your thing and loving it.
Well, so I've done like stage presentations and lectures pretty much my whole life in different areas of my fieldwork, and most of them is done with animals. So I'd be holding different exotic animals and talking about them in front of like a very large audience. I think the largest I ever did was like 2,000 people
Oh,
doing a
wow.
presentation on some of the animals that we worked with over the years. And llamas like showing and performing in front of large audiences it's never I think that more or less comes from my entertainment background of like being comfortable on stage, like being able to engage with the audience. I love the audience. I love people, and I like hearing what people are thinking. Like, let's talk, let's be real, let's be level with each other. What was really intense for me about this particular lecture wasn't I wasn't going up, but even my husband was with me and he was with me at the booth and he was there and people were like, "Why is she so nervous?" And he's like, "She's not going up to talk about Bigfoot or her favorite cryptids or her field work or her life. She's basically about to go up and show the facts, the hard truth about a cryptid that so many people have idolized, then they may not like to hear."
Yes.
And so that's where my stress was. And so I kept telling people, like, you sure you don't want to put on a blonde wig and just go up as me? I mean, I think you'd be great. 'Cause I was like,
It's your
I don't,
opportunity.
I know. I was like, I don't want to go up and
Yeah.
I don't get to just talk about like the cool stuff that I do or like the person I am and what I love or my theories or my thoughts. Like, I'm about to do a full breakdown on the Mothman from my personal research and deep dive investigative work that I do on every case. And I dug up facts that we don't talk about nowadays that were published in newspaper articles a day or two after the incident. So I was just like, how are these people? And so I'm at my booth and I had people come up to me and they're like, we drove all the way from West Virginia to hear this lecture today. And I was like, oh,
No
did
pressure.
you? I'm like, great. And so I was honest with them. I was like, look, it's my personal investigation from it. I'm a deep dive investigator. I treat everything like a
Yeah.
crime scene. I don't like to be told what to believe. I like to look for it for myself. And being in so many different fields growing up, I have learned that people write their own theory and take in a book as a biased opinion. So you can only take that with a grain of salt. You really got to do your own work because at the end of the day, someone's going to look for their research to fit their narrative in their book, right? Or to fit their biased opinion. When I look at research, I go, I strip away the onion layers, give me the facts in the center, because without those facts, I don't know what this story really is. Like, I'm not going to put this guy in prison if he was over at 7-Eleven when the murder took place. Do you know what I mean? Like, I need the facts. I have to know the facts. And so I think that's just because being in the animal field, we grew up, you had to know facts with the animals. You had to know the truth about these animals. You had to understand them. You know, the wrong way of raising them or being told by this guy, you could kill your animal. Like you really needed to know the animal, you know? So in cases, when I was a really young little girl, I loved researching. Like I think that was like one of my biggest things. I was that like library nerd. I still have a library card because they house I don't think it's a bad thing. Sorry, I'm vintage, whatever.
I love going to the
So
library.
Wait, hang on
I
a
do
second. How many
too.
times have you tried to pay using your library card at the supermarket?
Yeah, I've done
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've done that.
Often.
Yep. And I'm like, yeah, I still go to a library. Yeah, you're welcome. This gets me into all of them though in the state of Florida, okay? Like you're like bragging about it. But I love it because I like that. And like there's campuses here. We have the university campuses that will give you access if you're doing deep research. Like I had a couple of cases I was looking into and needed to go to a couple of the universities and they were like, yeah, it's fine. You know, like you make the day, you come in and they schedule and then they'll bring it out and you can see it like an archive. And that's where I like to go. I don't want to read a book from somebody who did their own research, most likely online, which makes me angry more so nowadays because people do a lot of their research online and they don't actually go to the place or ask the local historian to help piece together with actual articles and things like that to figure out what really happened. And that's where I sit. So with Mothman, that's what I did. And I have done on multiple cases. And Mothman just happened to be that. And I was just like, I don't know how the audience is going to take this. And I have people that drove in to hear this, and I know that they have this idea in their head of what they want to believe Mothman is. And it's become like a crowd hallucination to where everybody just assumes now that they've seen it or it is this and it's happening still today. And I'm like, it's literally not stripper Mothman that's in downtown West Virginia. Like, it's
Yes.
not him, you know? So I was very worried, and that's why I was super nervous at this one because I was presenting something that I really felt the audience was going to really be mad
And
about.
number
And
one fact about Mothman, he is the most searched cryptid ever, and he has
Yep.
been for years. We're talking
Yep.
millions of searches every single year, just on Google alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1966 and on. So
So then, Britt, before we go into it, because I really want to know what you delivered, right? I want to know the facts around the research that you found, because seriously, I was just sitting here, sitting on my hands going, finally, I get to find out. It's not like
Bugging her so bad. I'm like, we can talk about it. She goes, I want to know.
Oh man, like seriously, because nobody shared it, right? Everyone's gone, I went
No.
to the talk, it was amazing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, share some info, man. Drop the pennies. But before we get into that, my question is what are your personal views on, like, you talk about how Mothman's not stripper Mothman in reality, but he's been turned into this kind of Mothman that is just really sexualized and has ownership, is owned by so many different kind of minority groups or whatever. What is your view on cryptids and mythological creatures and urban legends or whatever that get taken and turned into this kind of party?
Pop culture, isn't it? It's pop culture.
Yeah. Pop
What's
culture,
your personal view? Does that annoy you? How does that make you feel from a personal perspective? After, you've been in the field for so long, you've literally been researching these animals, creatures, stories, everything. What is your view on that, and what are your thoughts?
It's a tough line. Back in the like, I'm so old school with these things that I do get annoyed sometimes because it's tarnishing a field study that is still practiced today in wildlife biology. And so and then the other side of that too, it's insulting to indigenous, it's insulting to natives, it's insulting to their cultures, it's insulting to what people like to label as folklore. And like, a lot of people don't know, but that's not a word that I like to use very often, because learning the origin of folklore was more or less a gentleman who basically was like, oh, these people are just telling stories, so we're going to call it folk and lore, because there's no merit to it. He didn't follow up to believe it, because if he didn't see it in a day, like what they believed in or what their culture believed in behind this being, then it wasn't real. So it was just stories in their culture. And to me, I feel that's insulting. So like, I'm always very cautious about saying folklore unless it's written on something or I have to state the word folklore. But me personally, I feel like it's insulting because
Sure.
there's always some truth to these legends, whether they're Native American legends, whether they're different indigenous across the globe. Like, there's so much truth to them. And a lot of people that don't understand that, they just jump on the bandwagon of it and then create it into something that it's not. And so for me, it is frustrating when there's like pros and cons with it. So if you look at Mothman, he's become like a pop culture icon, just like Bigfoot in the cryptid community, where it brings people together and they all want to have this cute little Funko Pop Mothman or Bigfoot or whatever. And that's adorable. But it's also altered the way that we look at what cryptids are, and it's labeled them as monsters and the things that like Frankenstein, monsters we would think about, universal type styles. And it's like, that's not it at all. Like, how did it lump into horror? So working in the paranormal as an investigator, and then working as a ufologist studying UFOs and dealing with interdimensional and learning about quantum physics and the time and how it's not linear, and like dealing with so much, even mathematically, and then you come into cryptids, it's like, how did all of this become, this is not one. Like this, a cryptid is not interdimensional. A cryptid is just a hidden animal species on our planet that hasn't been discovered yet. So every animal you see in a zoo was once labeled and considered in the wildlife biologists as a cryptid species only known to the indigenous or local. So until formally documented by science, right? To monitor it, to study it, to be able to protect it. So I like when I see a case online where like a scientific article will be posted and it'll say, we found a new a cryptic species. If you see it with a C on it in the animal world, that means that it looks just like the animal, but it's actually like another animal species within that genus, right? So it's like just another one-off, but it looks just like it. So it's just a cryptic species. But again, that also is considered a cryptid species because it was hidden and secret to us until we did a further evaluation on it. And they're still discovering animals all the time.
Oh, that's what I mean. There's discoveries all the time. Every month
Right.
there's new species, or you're saying these cryptid species are being found all the time.
All the
So
time.
it's just like, people are like, oh, cryptids are just like Bigfoot, or they're just like, all this kind of stuff, and they'll never be found. But it's like it's happening all the time.
I
People
love
are
that
just
Right.
really
definition.
unaware of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very unaware. And that's the part I don't like. And that's the reason why is because, and I hate to say it, but this generation today is guided so much by the social media aspects through like online stuff. And so these are people that really don't know where the history came from. They don't know the real inner workings. They don't understand the wildlife side. And so when cryptozoology started, it started as an extension of zoology. So it was the study of other animals that we haven't found yet, because at that time, in the 50s and 60s, we were still heavy in exploration and learning and still discovering large mammals at that time. So it's very sad for me to see so many of the pioneers of cryptozoology get lumped into, oh, they were storytellers. They really didn't care. They were trying to make money. And it really irks me because these are people that didn't know anything about it until recently, and then they Google it and they take somebody's opinion online and then they swear by it. Or you get these people that are really like non-believers per se. And I don't mean it in a negative way, but they don't know the animal world to be able to come out so boldly and be like, well, that's like people coming forward and being like, well, we should kill every crocodile. Why?
Yeah.
They're a keystone animal in the environment. If that animal goes away, that ecosystem collapses and it affects you.
Yeah, and
So
it's like
you need
wolves
to
as well, isn't it?
understand
Yeah, wolves are the same.
100%.
They've taken wolves out of these ecosystems, and the whole lot of just kind of, they were on the verge of collapse. They reintroduced the wolves, and I know there's so many issues between wolves and farmers and hunters, but they are a species that's needed. It's
100%.
they're needed. Yeah.
And the thing is, when we look at cryptid animals, when it's made fun of, or it's made like, oh, you're just looking for monsters, you're not really a professional. It's like, no, we actually are. We
Mm.
just also study the aspect of the unknown side of zoology.
Yeah.
Like that is my background. So it's the other side of zoology I also look into because I think it'd be amazing to discover another animal species that we didn't know existed. I mean, we have so many areas still on this planet that people are just not aware of because they live in a city and they never leave it. They don't
Mm.
understand how much forestry has never even seen a human being in hundreds of years. So the people go, that's ridiculous. We have satellites. Honey, that's from above. You're not going to see what's down below. Well, we have heat sensors. Again, you cannot push
Yeah,
past
through
that
that
heavy,
canopy.
heavy density.
Yeah.
And they don't understand it because they read someone on Reddit who says, "Oh, but this new technology and we can." I don't want to hear that. Like, I get so angry, and I sometimes have to put my phone down because I'm like, "Oh, social media is pros and cons, and it has ruined an amazing field study." So I love the conferences because it pulls people together in
Yeah.
this space to talk, and it allows you to be like, "Hey." I understand it's more of a pop culture thing, but what do you think of? And I always sit there and I go, listen, if they're seeing something that we may not have fully documented, we need to know what that animal is because we don't know what character role or keystone character role it plays in that environment. And
Mm.
is it a predator or prey? That's going to also change up the pace of how that ecosystem thrives and survives and adapts. So if let's just say Sasquatch is the leading keystone player in an environment and he goes away, well, what's the next predator that was really, it was keeping that predator in check to keep the deer in check, to keep, like it all trickles down and it goes all the way down to the river, to the freaking fish in the water, to everything, like how it all plays as
Real.
one big role. And you have to keep an open mind. And we think that, birds functionally go extinct and then we'll find and we'll rediscover them in another location because their environment collapsed. So they moved
Moved
elsewhere, a
on.
place we
Yeah.
never thought to check. Yeah. And so the pop culture area, the comic books, the mockery, the making fun of, it's really just taken something like honestly, they give horror characters more respect
Yeah. Yeah.
than
I mean, look at the
that are
Wendigo.
more real.
Yeah, Wendigo and Skinwalkers are a prime example. We did like a piece on these. Wendigos don't have horns. in
No.
in Aboriginal and in Native American, like all of that kind of the mythology and the stories about them, they don't have horns. It's all Hollywood made.
Yeah.
It's yeah, and it's
And
become
there's
this
so
giant
many,
horned creature. You know what I mean? This
yeah, sure.
monster.
I was going to say there's so many
Hmm.
examples of that, Jules, where these creatures from indigenous lore, and I agree with you, Britt. Like, Juliet and I, we use the word folklore, but a lot of the time when we're talking about indigenous cultures, especially like Aboriginal cultures, we'll use lore of the land because that's what
Yes.
we're told to do by some of our Aboriginal friends. And we were like, yeah, absolutely. They were like, there is no such thing as folklore. It is the law of the land because it's our law. It's our
Yeah,
conversations. It's our stories. It's
our
our
stories. This is what we saw. This is what we did.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And yeah, you see that quite often, the adjustment of what what it used to look like into what it looks like now. And Disney
Hmm.
doesn't help that in any way, shape, or form. All you have to do is mermaids, or
No.
look at the movie Moana. All you have to do is look at the movie Moana in the South Pacific. That hits us real hard because we are from the South Pacific. And all of those stories in the movie Moana, in both of those movies, have been skewed and changed. All we have to do is look at Maui as a demigod. He was a right little shithead, and
yeah. He
those
wasn't the
stories
fun
are
little
not
Maui.
told. He was really, really bad. He was a troublemaker, and not a nice troublemaker. He was a douche. And
Ah,
and I'm sure
I
Alison's
love
going to
it.
come on here one day and talk about Maui because she really, really wants to, and she's Maori, and she's like, oh my God,
It
there's
annoys her so much.
That's awesome.
but yeah, it
That's
absolutely
awesome.
happens. And we totally agree with you in your sentiment around the dilution of the work that we are doing and that people before us, amazing, educated, intelligent, hardworking people have done to be
Hmm.
simply kind of washed away because somebody on social media post said, oh yeah, but so
Oh, it's
oh,
always, it always is. It
absolutely.
makes me mad. It makes me mad because it's so much discredit to so many true, like, there's so many people that I've heard muddle things about Ivan Sanderson. And it's like, I don't know why I have like this. I really, because I think I connected when I was very young. I used to watch the Johnny Carson with my dad, and I remember him being on there, like with the animals. And so I think for me, there was that automatic connection to this man and how he spoke. It
Yeah,
was very logical. He processed everything. And I don't like that he's discredited as not an intelligent human being. And he didn't run out after every single little email, or not email, but letter that came his way. He was very methodical about, like, if there was enough legs he felt in the case, he'd go investigate. But
yeah,
just a couple of one-offs didn't give him enough merit to say, I'm going to go and take the time to spend the money out of my own pocket to go investigate this.
yeah,
Like, he really thought everything through. And what's interesting is people always were like, well, he believed in the Jersey Devil. Actually, that's false. That's not true. He didn't. He didn't think the Jersey Devil believed in cryptozoology at all. He saw that as more of a demonology case. And I agreed with him
Yeah.
on that. And he also believed
yeah,
further down the road when it kept coming back that it was more or less a real estate hoax to sell houses in the
Mm.
area. And so he did, like, he was so methodical how he broke everything down. But this is a man that in his early years of his life, coming straight out of Scotland and Attenborough, literally lived under the canopy. And so many people today under 30 don't even know what that means. So it is decades of work and years of field on the ground study, never going anywhere nice or showering in like a normal shower. We're talking about like bathing in the rivers with the villagers and being in the field under a canopy for weeks on end to get the data. And nobody ever talks about his discoveries, like the blue pygmy hippos. They weren't blue. He discovered it was the algae that ate into their skin that turned them blue. No one ever talks about that. He changed a lot of the way that we saw some of the animals because he was in the field watching them, observing their behavior and writing it down and sending it back. So again, it wasn't until he started talking to different locals and they're like, "Well, we've got this animal that we see." And he's like, "Well, explain it to me." Well, that's weird. I've never heard it. And then he started like going off. The same thing with Jane Goodall. If you actually get her to talk about it, she'll be like, "You know what? There's something to it." when you've got all these people talking about it. You can't ignore it anymore. And these are people that are field people. But you
Yeah.
talk to lab people, city people, people that don't know the field, it's not real.
Not
You're
real.
just one of those. Okay. I'll
You're
just be
one of
one
those
of those
crazy
then and
people.
discover it. Yeah.
Imagine saying that to somebody about their lab work. Oh, you just sit in a lab and just do that? Oh, you must be one of those.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it doesn't go both ways, does it? Oh, you just must
Yeah.
be.
Oh, you
Yeah.
just use testing. Yeah,
Oh, you just.
Yeah.
that's not real
It's
work.
But
man,
I
it's just
love
it's tough. It's
I
tough.
love, Britt, that you say conferences are so great because they pull people together. And
Yeah.
I totally agree. And we don't get conferences down here. We don't have cryptozoology conferences in New Zealand or paranormal conferences, and let alone in Australia, very, very few, maybe one or two max, and certainly nothing for cryptozoology or, wildlife, is
That
it?
they basically end up in a town hall, or there's one big one that ends up in like
Very,
a
very small.
old.
And I think, like the best way to research is to get in the same room as other people that have done the research, right? Because then you
Yeah.
can answer those questions. You can ask the questions, you can get real-time answers, you can bounce ideas off, you can share your evidence and your research. And that's obviously one of the reasons why we started Cryptid Women's Society, because we've got someone like you down here literally sitting here throwing out diamonds left, right, and center, and we're just trying to collect them all and house them somewhere where they don't get lost, and other women can come in and join the party and actually learn from it as well. And so I love the fact that you're going to conferences and giving your time and your expertise and your knowledge and sharing that with other people, so that you can then increase your knowledge base as well, right? Learn from
Yeah.
everyone
Oh, yeah.
at the same time.
I love going because I always say we're always in a world of learning. We were kind of raised that way. Like you never know it all. If you know it all, then what are you doing? Like I don't like people that, and I don't even use the word expert for myself, because what are we an expert on? We don't have a physical body. We don't have a ghost in a jar that we're talking to every day. We don't have a Bigfoot that we're monitoring every single day, field study with a tracker, and we're watching how it mates. We're watching when it feeds, when it migrates, how many offspring did, like we don't do this. So I'm never, and I've been in the field a very long time, longer than I would like to openly admit. I will just say it's over professionally 21 years. And in those 21 years, I can tell you I've never laid eyes on a Sasquatch and watch it with its, family troop going around and doing what it does so I can monitor, or watch it eat a deer so I know exactly how it eats a deer. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be fake to you because I want to be somebody. I refuse to put on a fake persona. And that's why people like roast me all the time on my Instagram. And I'm like, why? I make funny reels because it's me. You're following all of me. I can be professional when I need to be, but I'm just fun. Like
Yeah.
there's a world where you can be both. Like, and if you're truly a field person, you know that you will go crazy out there if you're not just laughing and having fun and picking on each other and doing stupid crap to each other. Like
Yeah.
it is the field. I'm sorry. That is the truth of it. You're dirty, you stink, like you're just in it. And it's funny, and that's just how it is. And so I'm like, I will never, 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 ever pretend to be something I'm not, or say or make up something about a cryptid that isn't true that I don't know.
Yeah.
So I get a little annoyed when people are like, I know that Sasquatch makes this call and they're calling to their mate, and then their mate's going to come back, and then they're going to get this food, and then they're going to eat this food, and then they're going to kill this deer, and then they're going to put that deer on a table for their youth. But the young men like to do it this way, and then they go off over here and court this female, and then they'll go away for 2 months, and then they come back. Excuse me, where's this data? Do you know what I'm saying? Like you're not an expert. You're a professional. You're a professional. You're an expert if you're like to me, Maria Mayer. She's an expert primatologist, not an expert in Bigfoot because there isn't one to study yet. And I think she'd back me on that. But in primatology, she's looking at the data from being an expert primatologist to say, okay, I'm looking at anatomy here. If this is a legit footprint, it kind of matches what would be XYZ. To me, that's an expert, right? Professor Jeff Meldrum, another expert who compares field science from known species to a plausible unknown species that we're looking for. Again, understandably so, but neither one of those are going to come out and be like, we know Sasquatch eats apples during the summer and pumpkin pie in the fall. Oh crap. So
Yes,
I'm not
we
gonna be that
applaud
person.
you. We
Yeah,
applaud
no.
you. Well done.
No, I can't stand it. I tell people all the time, like, I'm sorry, this is who I am. I am real, unfiltered, and raw. I'm gonna tell you until it hurts. I'm sorry.
And this is why we love you. Honestly, we just love you. You're just straight down the line, baby. You could have been a Kiwi in your former life.
A what?
You could have been a Kiwi in your former life. We are very much straight down the line as well. So I feel like we're dragging you over to
Honorary
the southern
Kiwi. There we go.
I'm good with that. I'll be a Kiwi. Those little funky little guys. I love them.
They're so
They're
cute. Oh my
Kiwi.
God, they're
They
so
are
fluffy.
cute.
Delicious. Anyway, hey,
Vicious little buggers too. For those of you who
they are.
don't know, Kiwis are
Who
not
cares?
cute and cuddly. They are vicious. They make terrible noises and they will chase
Yeah.
you if you annoy them.
Yeah, they will. And they'll scream at you like a dying little girl.
Oh.
It's horrible.
I love it.
Honestly, you just stand there going, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
They're so funny though.
Yeah, I literally the other day, my grandkids were going, "What do kiwis sound like?" I was like, "Here we go," and they were both like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Horrible.
Here's a nice nighttime call. Like, boo, boo, I said, that's a nice one. Here's the other one. This kiwi just runs in and then just roars. And they're both like, oh my God.
It's horrendous. Could you imagine being a little bit intoxicated,
Being
standing on the deck of your house, looking at the stars and then hearing that? Yeah, it's pretty traumatizing.
Yeah. I mean, possums.
Well, imagine if you're like moving from the States, right? And you've heard legends of like the Yahweh and you're out there and you're like, I heard it last night. You're like, no, you heard a kiwi.
You heard a coyote, you heard a bobcat, you heard
Yeah. You're like,
Actually,
no, I
I'll
know
tell you
it's a banshee.
Koalas, Koalas have the scariest roar as well.
do.
They sound terrible.
Yeah,
They do.
We'll go into that.
Now, but they're cute and cuddly.
They are.
Some
Well,
of them.
drop bears
Drop
are.
bears aren't.
That's a different kind of creepy cryptid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What about your possums over there? Have they got horrible screeches as well?
No.
Your opossums, our ones do. Look up possums, New Zealand possums, and the noise that they make. Like,
I mean, they make funky sounds, but most of ours here in Florida, they see you, they drop dead. They hiss, but they literally pretend to be dead right away. Like right away.
And what
Like
happens
they're
if you
just
pick
like
them up and give them a cuddle?
they literally just lay there and they make horrible sounds. Actually, they make the best freaking pets though, and they only live for like 4 years, 4 or 5 years. So you want to give them like the best life ever. And you can raise them. Like we've raised so many from babies, and we've had a lot of rescues and things like that. I mean, people get freaked out because they're like, that's the tail. Look at the tail. It's like a giant rat. And it's like, I know, but they're like the best pets. And they really are. They're loving. They truly are like the best pets. And I'm always like, if you can save one and give the little guy like the best 4 years of his life before he dies, can you please do? I had one that died in my backyard. So I fossilized him. And I taught the kids how to take the body apart and save the bones. And we did a whole like field study on him. And I showed him the hair. So I fossilized all of his little skulls, his little teeth.
That's so cool.
You're a mentor. I love you so much. We like to shoot possums in New Zealand.
Don't tell me that.
We do. And
we
make them, we turn them into gloves and sometimes nipple warmers because it's cold. Just very nipple warmers.
No.
I'm gonna send you a pair, Britt.
I swear to God, if they come in the mail, I'm gonna show it to my husband and be like, "This is for the winter, honey. This is what they do in New Zealand. These are nipple warmers, and I'm trying to blend in. Okay, this is getting me ready for New Zealand.
There's an option for the boys also, just to keep warm.
The willy warmer.
Please send this to me.
All right,
I have got to be like, this is what my friend sent me, honey.
It's so funny because like in New Zealand, like God, people run them over all the time and it's horrible. There's just dead possums everywhere. We were all brought up hunting possums. They carry TB and there's all these major issues with them. Here in Australia, they're protected. exactly the same looking possums and they're protected. And I see them, I'm like, ugh, but they're like, ah, it's so cute, it's a possum. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, and every New Zealander that moves to Australia or goes on a holiday stands there going, "Oh, shoot that bugger!
Yeah.
Oh, shoot that bugger!" And they're all like,
Or you're in the
like,
park and these possums are out and people are like feeding them and stuff. And you can tell all the Kiwis because they're just sitting there going, oh,
"Oh, you're
okay.
gonna be a hat. You'll be a hat soon."
And they
funny.
literally started making possum pie and stuff. And you have wild fears in New Zealand where they basically will get really, do like hedgehog pie, just like really random stuff. And they'll do like
Oh
possum pie. And I'm just
my
like, there's
God.
no way. The amount of possums that we opened up that had TB and
Oh.
and I'm just like, I would never touch it. I couldn't do it.
Okay.
It's just like, yuck.
You don't eat that. You just skin them and then use them as nipple warmers.
Yeah.
Ew.
Hey,
Man.
can we please get back on track? Because there is still something I want to know, right? Gosh darn it, you two. This is what happens, right?
Sorry.
Squirrels, you can't complain.
Barbieri, Miss Barbieri, you, Mrs. Barbieri, is that your name? Did you steal your husband's name, or is that your name?
I did. No, I stole my husband's name.
What's your real first name? Last name?
Lily.
Brittany Lily.
Like the flower.
Barbieri
Yeah.
as well. They call it.
It's very bubbly now.
Bubbly.
Brittany Barbieri. I'm like, oh.
But yeah, if you're English, Brittany Barbieri.
That's right. Brittany Barbieri, darling. That's your servant.
I think we'll just call you that now. Right, Miss Brittany Barbieri, what I want to know
nipple warmers.
is, how are those nipple warmers? No, what I want to know is,
Darling, they're wonderful.
darling, when you went to your conference, I want to know what is
Yeah.
the most important things we need to know about Mothman. Where have we gone wrong? What don't we know that we need to know to change the narrative?
Oh God.
Give it to me, baby.
Is he a living creature? Is he demonic? Is he
No.
figment of
He's
people's
not
imagination?
demonic. This is my personal opinion. So let me
From your
state that
research.
first.
100%.
It's not biased. It's based off facts from archives, actual the police report, the newspaper journalists that went out and spoke to the two couples, did follow-ups with other sightings to figure out what the heck people were seeing in the area. So the largest takeaways from this is that, and I used to sit there and think for the longest time, why in God's name would the wildlife station come out and say it was probably a sandhill crane, right? Like, so if you look at what Mothman is today, he's this flying humanoid arms, red glowing eyes, demonic looking thing versus a sandhill crane. I was like, what am I missing here? What? So that was the part that really started my journey into Mothman, because I love both Mothman. I love the cryptid Mothman, but I also really love the pop culture Mothman, because the pop culture Mothman brought so many new generations into loving cryptozoology. So I have a love for the pop culture Mothman, but not in the same respectful way as the origin Mothman. So the key takeaways that I had uncovered through archives and newspapers and professional journalists that were writing things down from speaking to the original first two couples was that the Scarberries and the Merlets all confirmed that it was a large bird. They all said it was a bird species. It had a 10-foot wingspan. And when Mrs. Scarberry was trying to describe it to the police officer, she was like, it had really long legs, kind of like a human with wings. Like, she was trying to give an idea in his head creatively to see the size of what this thing was. The largest takeaway, only one newspaper, and it's in, so when I send you guys my presentation, it's in my presentation. It's the largest takeaway that was only documented by one newspaper. One very small little piece of article this big from an interview with them the very next day after they went to the police department the night before. The Scarberries confirmed that they didn't even call it Mothman.
No.
They said the large flying creature, the large bird that they saw with a 10-foot wingspan, was white and gray.
Mm.
Never said black, never gave anything like that. Never dodged, never attacked the car in some statements that were made further down the road into the 60s, or not 60s, 70s and 80s. Didn't do that. Their report was very clear. It was keeping up with what they said was the speed of the car. It came in front of the lights. They could see the size of the bird at that time. Now, again, if they're saying the bird is white and gray, if it hits the lights of the car, it's going to intensify the size. Just
Yeah.
as much as if I'm scuba diving, things through my goggles are in the ocean, and in the ocean are amplified in size. The moment you take that beast up, a 20-foot fish is really like 15. You're
Yeah.
like, I could have sworn it was 20. Like, no. So, and in animals and perspective, you also have to consider fear. So they've never seen something like this before. You now have four young couples in a car that are in a very dark road that are freaking out and seeing something in the height of UFOs and little green men, right? Because we also had which people forget, we had the Flatwood monster in West Virginia just the year before, like, or actually not even the year before, earlier that year in April, I want to say. So it was like they had something already that was scary that happened in their state that everybody knew about and heard about. So now they're seeing something flying in front of their car with like a 10-foot wingspan, which most likely had more of like a 7-foot wingspan, but it looked large. When they stopped their car, turned around, they put their lights on it. Thing was standing in the middle of the road, and then it took off. Okay, fair enough. But they said it was gray and white. So now it made sense as to why the wildlife station said it was probably a sandhill crane. However, at that time, sandhill cranes were not common, nor were whooping cranes, any type of species, because they had been shot and killed and where numbers were extremely down. Well, in the same month of the incident of Mothman, they also had published in the newspaper that was local to Point Pleasant and other areas in the time with a bold statement, please don't shoot the birds, don't kill the eagles. So I was like, what is this about? Because these things matter to me. You have to look at the wildlife side when you have a sighting like this. And so again, these sightings happened by 8 people in the span of a week, and then we didn't have any other sightings, just so everybody knows. Like, that's actually the clarity
With
there.
only 1 week.
1 week span, and people drove to the wildlife station where the World War II kind of the remainder ruins were
Yeah.
to see Mothman, the TNT zone, the TNT plant. They all flooded to the point where it's a tiny 2-way road, like country road, that the police department, the fire department all had to go and redirect traffic to tell people you have to go. There's nothing here. You need to leave. So really, they needed to calm the public and their town down because it was really getting into a craze. So the wildlife department stepped in, the zoological people stepped in, and they were really trying to talk to the eyewitnesses that had this account. But prior to the Scarberries having this account, there was a gentleman on a farm several hours earlier who had seen this type of same animal in his field. His dog had ran after it, and his dog never came back. His dog's name was Bandit, never came back. It was a German Shepherd, I want to say. And that's also in my presentation. And what was interesting is that Mr. Scarberry, when asked, did you see anything else in the road? He mentioned seeing a dead dog. So I had to then switch the way I looked at things and looked into wildlife trade and figure out what was going on at the time, because a harpy eagle would easily try and carry off a dog, or not necessarily be able to. But if it was also a golden eagle, it absolutely could. A golden eagle could pick that puppy up, no big problem, and it would try and kill it. So now I'm looking in my head, but I'm going, they keep saying gray and white. So I went back to this article, don't shoot the birds, don't shoot the eagles. Well, guess what? The wildlife decided that they were going to start, and this is normal conservation efforts in the area, to bring back whooping cranes and sandhill cranes to the area. And they had re-released them right there by the bridge, which is right near the site of the TNT, all in the same area. And they had warned people, please don't shoot the whooping cranes because we're trying to bring their numbers back up in this area where they once lived, all in the same time. So the Scarberry and the Marlettes never would have seen what a whooping crane is. And a whooping crane is this large white bird, massive wingspan, stands like a human. And if it eyeballs you straight down, you wouldn't really even pay attention to a neck, except there were other reports of Mothman having a long neck. So again, we're talking about a really large bird of prey. So on top of that, it never said the eyes were glowing. All 8 accounts of the people that claim to have seen this bird of prey, whatever it was, said the eyes reflected red. So if you're a field person and you've got a light on an eyeball, you know exactly what happens. It reflects in different colors, and it was reflecting red. Right. And so the wildlife biologist saying it could have been reflecting from the red around the eyes if it's a sandhill crane, or it could have just been a bird and the bird looked at the light. It's going to look red. These are all plausible explanations. So in my head, I'm going, okay, so now I'm getting pieces that are making sense as to why these accounts were accumulated over the years as to being a sandhill crane or a type of bird of prey of like that. However, the illegal animal trade in West Virginia, Virginia, Tennessee were out of control at that time. So the wildlife refuge station would have been a spot to hold animals at that time in transportation. So if an animal that they were in transportation had gotten out, they don't want the public to grow too much attention to it, to scare the public about these types of animals or exotic animals being held by people that shouldn't have them. They're going to try and capture this animal under the radar. Or there was a local who had an illegal animal and it got out and basically said, I didn't own it, because there would be a hefty fine. It was not regulated like it is now. From the 80s on, it really was heavily regulated because it got out of control. So again, I had all that piled up on the Mothman case. And then people were like, well, everybody saw him on the bridge before it collapsed. False. Did not happen. Did not happen. The account that happened on the bridge didn't even happen at the time the bridge collapsed. And that those 2 individuals said they saw it and it flew off. Again, it was a bird with a beak, reflecting red eyes, and a large wingspan. And it was at night and it was dark. So they couldn't get a really good view of it. The bridge collapsed a year later in December.
Go on, Brittany.
Whole year later. Didn't happen the same year. Happened a year later. And what actually ended up happening, my dad's a construction guy, contractor. You know, he used to work in all of that before he moved to IBM. And I asked him, I said, Dad, they're talking about a fracture in an eye bar. And he's like, oh, that's it. The bridge is done. So it was a suspension bridge. Yeah. And that one eye bar had a small fracture in it. And at rush hour, you had a ton of cars at 5 o'clock every day putting pressure and pressure on that joint. Well, unfortunately, in December at rush hour at 5 o'clock, that joint couldn't take it anymore. And it snapped, causing a ripple effect through that suspension bridge. And it collapsed, killing 44 people. Had nothing to do with this so-called Mothman. It was a manufacturing issue that actually raised such a concern that the president of the time decided to put in a law immediately following this incident that there would be proper checks on all bridges, and suspension bridges would be on holding until they could figure out a better way to resolve the issue of these eye bar situations. Because there's a manufacturing issue, and how do you monitor that unless they're being properly inspected every so many months. So he put that in honor of that tragedy, because it connected Ohio and all of this, that, and the other, and so many lives were taken. Had nothing to do with Mothman. The superstition grew in town that was that ominous creature we all saw a year ago anything to do with this? Because here's the other part that people don't know about. If you read the books on Mothman or other people that claim to have gone there, they say Mothman was talked about for a year. No, according to the local police department, they had 100 reports in a year, and only about 20 of them were legitimate. And they said it was more or less like, hey, we think we saw that big flying bird again. Okay, where'd you see it? Heading this way to this way. That's it. It wasn't like, oh, Bobby got abducted last night. We're really like the idea of it being interdimensional or alien, not talked about. That didn't happen until 75 with John Keel. That's it. Like nothing. And there were newspaper articles. December of 66, newspaper articles were published. As soon as Mothman was seen, he vanished again. No one's talking about it. No one knows where this animal went. Gone, done. And it was published from West Virginia all the way to California. The same statement. And I looked at every single newspaper from here all the way from the 21st of November to December 7th of 1966. Mothman was not talked about. And Mothman, the name, came from a journalist who worked in West Virginia at the time who was fascinated by Batman, the comic book. And at the time, there was a comic book villain named Killer Moth. And so when this case came out, he decided as a journalist to make it contemporary and get the interest of the people. And he
Yeah.
labeled it moth, comma, man. Like put a parens and it was like Mothman. Was he seen? What is it? What is this creature people speak about? But he named it after basically the killer moth in Batman because Batman the series was big at that time. The comic books were big at the time. So he was turning it into a readable content in
Yeah.
the news paper for people to be like, oh, was Mothman seen again? Like, didn't even, nobody called it that. It
So
was a large
what's
bird.
your views on the sightings that they had in Chicago a couple of years back then, the so-called Mothman sightings?
I follow the line of Ivan. So that's the other thing is that during the time this was all happening,
Yeah,
Ivan was tracking Thunderbird sightings from the Carolinas to basically New York.
yeah,
And if you follow his path and the actual migration path, the Mothman sighting happened maybe like I would say 100 miles from a very prominent hotspot for Thunderbird sightings. And we're talking about a bird with a 15-foot wingspan being seen constantly.
oh,
So Ivan, when Mothman came out and the sightings were reported and sent to him, he
yeah,
immediately labeled it. And when I saw his archive and I pulled his thing out, he did not, he actually in one of his things put like a circle with like a question mark around like Mothman, but it was all in the archive of Thunderbird. And he labeled it as a possible bird of prey in the Thunderbird
yeah,
sightings.
yeah.
So he had two colleagues. So there was like a famous picture really quick so that we can come back to this why this was so prominent. There was a famous picture from the early 1900s of an alleged pterodactyl that was shot
Yeah.
stuck to a barn, right? Well, Ivan Sanderson was known to have the original photograph of that. He had two colleagues that came to work for him in the mid early 60s that he took on at the farm and were like teaching him about the shop and we're going to be building the pursuit and I need you guys. So one day he gets a call from a colleague friend of his in Pennsylvania. And he said, hey, I've got two guys out here that are going around with the current Thunderbird sightings. And they're showing a photograph of something from like cowboy era to all these people. And they're asking if this is what they've seen. And Ivan was like, they stole my photograph because he had been looking for it and didn't know it had gone missing until he wanted to show it to another colleague that had come by, couldn't find it. So he's like, I must have misplaced it. I don't know what happened to it. Then he got this call a couple months later from a friend of his in Pennsylvania, and he was like, I thought they were my friends, but they didn't. They just stole some stuff from him and ended up, I guess, going up and were using it to be like, hey, have you seen this creature? And kind of doing their own investigation without his knowledge. And he found out about it that way and was like, so that's where my photo went. And then it went missing after that because he didn't. So he ended up making a sketch of what he remembered the photo being. And that sketch was forever permanent in his archive. Like, that's all he was like, here's the
Oh,
story. Here's what I know.
mind blown. I didn't know that that was a real photo because you see those. I know exactly what
Mhm.
you're talking about
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
front of a shed with it like kind of
Yep.
stuck to the wall, right?
Every picture you see online is not real. Those are all
Yeah.
replicated, duplicated concept designs. Ivan actually did the field work with certain indigenous out west and had gotten the original copy of the photograph to keep in his archive from his work because of his reputation in the field of being so close to the indigenous with his work in the
Yeah,
Congo. He
yeah.
really had a trust with these people and they really trusted him to take this stuff and keep it in his archive. And for him, that was a big deal and he held on to these things. So when it went missing, it was like, no, this was gifted to me. Like I can't, this was a big piece of history that was trying to be covered up at the time and I had a photograph of it. So again, he really took flying cryptids and when I say like cryptids in a sense, it wasn't interdimensional. John Keel came about and was friends with Ivan and actually had shared multiple letters with Ivan, multiple phone calls with Ivan about the incident with the Mothman years later to write his book. But John Keel was a heavy UFO guy, conspiracy guy,
Oh,
believed in aliens, right? And so he already had a narrative in his head
Of what
before
the Mothman
going.
would be. Yeah.
Right. And so, yes, if I go to any state with a cryptid sighting, I could lump any cryptid into a paranormal, supernatural UFO account because of these things that happen around the same time or some weird accounts, right? And so, again, he was a writer that really did like to be a storyteller. And people don't like to hear that, but John Keel was known as a storyteller. He
Yeah.
wrote for the, I think it was, what was He wrote for several different people, including Playboy. Like he wrote for so many people. So he knew how to fluff and get people involved. And if you ever read the Mothman prophecies, you're not reading someone's fieldwork journal. Like you're going through his journal like Ivan wrote. You are reading a story unfolding like a movie. And that's why it did so well in 2003 when the movie came out with Richard Gere. Again, spiked a new interest, but it brought Mothman, it took away, he incorporated Men in Black. He incorporated UFOs. He incorporated interdimensional beings. He also introduced the idea of ultra dimensional beings or ultra terrestrial beings, which means these creatures or these beings are from our Earth. They live on this Earth, but they're in a different time on this Earth, a different dimension on this Earth, but they are of this Earth, and that's why we see them. So that also has been used with Bigfoot and other cryptids to explain why we don't see them. But if you actually just understand animals, that's why you don't see them. Like they know how to hide from you. Like it's really simple. Like you don't have to make it crazy. Like they're super like natural. They just know how to hide. And so it's just interesting how one man's book changed the history of Mothman forever. And then the
Look
book
at the
was
Church of
taken and
Scientology. Church of
right.
Scientology was a story.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So it's like you see this
Yeah.
unfold in Mothman, and I'm like, oh my God. And then it was the movie came out, new craze for Mothman because
Yeah.
they brought in what everybody loves, aliens and supernatural twists and black men in
Monsters,
black yelling at families,
scary.
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. And then a year later, you have the statue that erects in, freaking West Virginia, and it's bringing everybody together. And I love it, but I don't love it. Like when I went to West
Yeah.
Virginia, people are like, why didn't you get your picture with Mothman? I'm like, listen,
I
I
love it.
get that he's like a main player, and I encourage everyone to go get a picture with him because he's iconic. But for me, I enjoyed the museum. The
Mhm.
museum walking through it was great. They do a great job of giving you the facts from the moment it happened through all the way through what people wrote about it, said about it, changed about it, how it looked, what it didn't look like. So I give them props on that. They did a phenomenal job. The museum, I tell everybody to hit. If you want that legendary funny photo, go get it with the statue. For me, I couldn't do it because I something about me that a lot of people don't know is I'm always on the side of my eyewitness. Unless I know you're a fake and you just want 5 minutes of time. But
Yeah.
the real people that get scared and they're heavily affected. The two couples that were heavily affected that night, their world for probably a good 24, 48 hours had altered. That was shifted. They were questioning everything. What they saw, they were scared, don't want to drive at night. I don't even know what I saw. Like, did we really see what we saw? Yeah, we all saw it. Like, a
Yeah.
lot changed for them that night. And how did we honor them? By putting up a stripper Mothman. So that's where I get
Mm.
really torn because we had individuals whose life changed that night, right? And to me, it feels insulting. Like if we created something replicated based off of what Mrs. Scarberry had said she saw, dive down for it. But you created something off of a narrative that somebody wrote about, not what the
Years
actual
later.
sighting was.
Years later. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we hear
So like
you.
when you see Sasquatch, Bigfoot, he is replicated exactly how the natives have talked about him. The indigenous have talked about what it looks like. It's never depicted differently. I mean, in some cartoons and stuff, yes, but not necessarily the way that it's just not depicted the same. And so for me, I'm very touchy about Mothman because I feel like it was an insult to the people, those 8 people that had a very terrible sighting, like the man that lost his dog. We had the grave diggers the night before that saw it before anybody saw it fly over
Yeah.
the graveyard. So it's like they were all really scared at a time that they were kind of hearing about really scary crap in the news,
Yeah.
like flying saucers and the aliens might be real. We also had the Hopkinsville case a year before that in Kentucky that's not far from Ohio. So it's like these stories would have transferred. There was also the 86-mile UFO chase that crossed the border into 2 states, which was in Ohio. So, and this was just months before too. So it's like they knew what was going on and these things were scary. Your reality, you knew about Blue Book. You knew that these things were going on and you're trying to live your nice little life in the 60s.
The changing.
And
Yeah.
It's
then and
changing.
then you and
Yeah.
then you see something that just is not part of your reality at all.
It
And yeah.
right. alters
It's a
everything.
nice little recipe for hysteria, right? And we talk about
Yeah.
hysteria, or we hear about hysteria often. And a lot of the time, the government is the first to kind of put that onto anything, any sort of situation that we know it's not hysteria, right? There is
Right.
other things going on, and they slap it on top and they go, oh, you were all just, mass delusional. You're just
Yeah.
all seeing the same thing, and just, it wasn't real, and you just all saw the same vision.
Yeah, exactly.
But there are these times where that hysteria is literally brewed up perfectly into this little recipe of hysteria, you know, from the media and from I mean, we see it here now with the social media more so, but through that UFO flap through the 60s, man, that would have just been absolutely insane, and going to the moon and all this other sort of stuff going on, and
Yeah.
this huge ultimate change in the reality that people are living in. I
Yeah.
could totally see that happening and turning into a major issue.
Yeah. Well, and that's why these cases are still the leading cases in cryptozoology, because when they first happened, it was during the time where people were really trying to figure out what were people seeing. Are we looking at something like there was a wildlife biologist that was documented in a newspaper article that drove there to see it. He saw it and turned to the cop and he goes, "Oh, I just saw the Mothman that you all are talking about. It flew that way. It looks like a type of crane." And the police officer looked, it wasn't there, and he called him drunk and he told him to go home. So the wildlife biologist wrote about it and told the local newspaper like what he had seen. And, he's like, these people aren't crazy. I just think there's an animal here that doesn't belong. So, like,
Yeah.
again, we had a really cool case. We had a really amazing sighting. I'm a very big believer in Mothman, which is not the Mothman that we see today.
Yeah.
I'm a Mothman believer in whatever animal or cryptid unknown species it was at that time in an area it didn't belong. So anything that's a bird of prey or a raptor species like that, they follow storms. They follow migration patterns, and if they get off, they get off, and they're lost.
Yeah.
So happens a lot, and there's things like that that we have to consider when these sightings happen. And so again, it was a really hard lecture to present everything, but I kept it fun. I kept it lighthearted. I did not give a conclusion on where I stood. I wanted them to have the facts and make their own conclusion, because I don't think I should tell you what to believe. It's
And
like,
yeah, and it's like what you're saying, and we're saying Mothman is the number one cryptid. He has brought so many people into cryptozoology and children and stuff. And there's this whole town is, it's all evolves around Mothman and the tourism and all that kind of stuff. And
right.
there's that fear of like you don't want people to get angry at you because you don't want to take that away from them, but you also you kind of want them to have those facts. And it's kind of exploded into what he is seen as today.
Yeah.
And we don't want to lose that because he is such a cool kind of part of cryptozoology and the mythology, well, not so much the mythology, but bringing in that kind of really cool side of it and that fun side of it, and everywhere you go, even here, like you go to like the expos here, and there's all this Mothman stuff popping up all over the place now, whereas 5 years ago wouldn't never have seen any of it, but now there's a lot of Mothman stuff and bookmarks and books and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff
Total
coming in over
opposite of
here.
what a total
Yeah.
opposite of what the stories say that he actually was at all. He's
Yeah.
taken on a whole new kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Whole new image. Yeah. A whole new
So
image.
my question to you then, Britt, is I know on Lost Monster Files, you guys did an episode on Thunderbird.
I
And
did. Yes.
obviously that was part of what Ivan Sanderson had researched. So what are your views on Mothman, the original Mothman encounters? Are you leaning towards that could have been a Thunderbird, or are you leaning towards it was potentially something else, a crane
Bird of prey, yeah.
or something else? I know you're not.
Well,
I don't want to Give your opinion.
No, I don't care because I'm always very honest with people about like where I sit, but it's no judgment to anybody else's,
No,
where they sit with it. It's what
it's
I've
based on your research and what you've understood, right?
Yeah, and my background. So you have to look at it from all different perspectives. And I think because of being a believer or whatever, you also want to apply a little, you can't help but add a little of your biased opinion in there, even though you try not to, right? So I was always like, listen, this is just my opinion. If you're asking my personal opinion without me like telling you what to believe, for me personally, I do think it was a type of bird of prey that either was part of an illegal trade that got out and the man or person who had it just wiped clean of it and we're like, let him capture it and I'm not going to come out and say I had it.
Yeah.
Or it was a type of thunderbird, a
Mm.
type of species of raptor that they had been tracking, they had been seeing because in Pennsylvania alone, we had white thunderbird sightings. So I'm not going to say it's not possible or plausible because I do believe it. Anytime you have a large bird of prey sighting, it unfortunately will be lumped into some type of thunderbird. The
Yeah.
Mothman was its own that ended up having sightings in Russia that they were saying, I think we saw Mothman. So it stuck for a little while instead of looking at it like because I think they were so protective of saying, well, if we say thunderbird, then we're representing a native culture of it. And that really wasn't what it was at all. Thunderbird was just based off of a part of the culture, why they called it that. But they would say it was a large bird of prey. Like we knew when it was coming, we knew it would bring rain. We knew that, and of course, if you understand birds, you're like, well, that makes sense. They would fly in front of the storms. Like, of
So,
course.
yeah.
So yeah, so it's like there's so much truth to it that most people don't think about. So for me, I just think that we were possibly looking at either a known species that had gotten loose that was part of an illegal trade, like a harpy eagle. If anybody looks that up, I encourage you to do that. If you saw that thing standing in the middle of the road, you would think you were looking at a person. And then in a mythology, they were known as the woman with the face. It was like a bird with a woman's face, or a woman with the body of a bird, and that was like the mythology of how
Or
they
the
were.
owl woman. I reckon like a lot of the owl woman from some of the
Yes,
native stories because they would come and eat the
Yeah.
children. They would take children. And so
right.
that these big things would just kind of, they're saying they would stand there and I mean they're huge. Oh my God, they're
And the
huge.
face of
Yeah.
a
And the
human
face,
almost,
yeah,
you
very
know,
human.
like
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yep.
yeah,
I mean, and we have our largest owl that's more towards, the greater colder parts and through the what Yukon and upper Canada. But again, illegal trade,
bring it
that's a
down here.
freaking big owl to
Yeah,
fly around that people aren't going to be used to. I think that's the gray owl. But anyway, so it's like I firmly believe it was either an illegal trade, again, would freak the crap out of you if you saw an animal you're not used to seeing. And it's not like animals were taught very heavily in school. So you didn't really know different species from different countries at that time unless you were studying it in school to be a wildlife biologist. Um, and then you also have to look at the possibility that it could have been an unknown species
yeah,
that that we just weren't properly documented at the time. It might be documented now, but it wasn't at that
yeah.
time. So that's where I sit with it. I believe it was 100% real. Those the 8 individual groups that did have those sightings, 100% were trilling the truth, wanted answers because all of their accounts match to the color, to the size, to the reaction. So even like if you look at the statue has a beak, and everybody's like, well, why does the moth have a beak? That's because the original report said it had a beak. So they were very much saying it was a bird. We saw a very large bird, creature, whatever it was. Like that's what they were trying to say.
Like honestly, I was here in Australia maybe a year, and we'd had a kangaroo that had died in the paddock next to us. Like we were in a house, like all paddocks and stuff behind us. This big giant kangaroo died, and so we're like, okay. Came home one day, looked out the window, and there was a wedge-tailed eagle sitting on our fence. And I'm like, what the f-? Like, we freaked out. This thing was huge. And we're like, the kids are never going outside ever again. You know, this thing
Right.
was a
Yes.
monster. And, because we don't
Yeah.
get the eagles in New Zealand. I think, well, maybe native, no, it's,
Right.
it's all hawks
Um,
or,
we have
you know,
hawks and falcons, but they're very, very
falcons. Yeah,
small.
they're all really small. So to see this wedge-tail eagle, and I've probably seen three since I've been in Australia. But the one that was on our fence was like the size of a 2-year-old kid. This
Yeah, they're
thing
massive.
was massive, and they're known here as to have a really, really bad reputation, and they will attack hang gliders and people parachuting, and you know,
Something
they'll
else to worry
nothing
about.
else to worry about. But yeah, I mean, I'm in the suburbs. We're in the suburbs here, and this thing had basically come in and decided to eat this kangaroo. And yeah, I mean, it was such a shock for me. And I mean, we're in daylight, we can see this thing, we know what it is. But imagine if I went out there at nighttime and saw that thing, I would have just been like,
It changes your
Oh yeah.
reality,
yeah,
right? Your perception of reality. And we were talking about this the other day because we did an interview with Dr. Tamara from the aerospace industry, and she's
Hmm.
amazing. She's worked with like the likes of NASA, with Lockheed Martin, everything, and she's been in the industry for 30 plus years. And she was talking about how we can't actually truly believe our eyes, and that's the worst possible thought, right? That we can't honestly look at something and believe what we're seeing because our iPhone takes better video than what we'll ever see. It captures more than what we'll ever see simply for the fact that we have such a slow um, flip rate, like blink rate,
Hmm.
than what the iPhone does, or that sort of stuff. And we
Yeah.
only see in a very, very small number of Roy G. Biv colors, spectrum, and that sort of stuff. And so it changes your reality massively when you see something in the sky that shouldn't be there, like the rainbow UFO that I saw over the fair a couple of weeks ago, right? Like
It'll
this
get you.
giant owl, blimmin' giant thing standing on my fence, which is the size of my child. It must be some sort of spiritual entity, right? Like
Hmm.
yeah.
your whole
Yep.
your whole perception on the world changes dramatically, and
Yeah.
especially when you haven't had UFO encounters before, or you haven't had spiritual encounters, you haven't seen apparitions, or you haven't been
Yeah,
involved
that's
with
a
that.
big
And
one.
that's a huge game changer when you're not quite open enough to deal with those sort of kind of fringe things
I mean,
happening.
so many experiments have been done on this, haven't they? You've got 20 people in a room and something happens in front of them. Each one of them will tell you something completely different.
Mm.
It'll
Yes.
be
Yep.
different color, different size, different voice, different, it's like everybody sees it differently.
Mm.
Yep.
Even though that same thing happened, and there's been so many experiments done with this, hasn't it? It's just like what happened. They'll
Oh
be
yeah,
like,
your
oh, well,
perception.
this happened, but it actually happened this way, but this person's gone backwards. This person started in the middle. This
Hmm.
person went this way, that way, it's and the more you kind of look into that, yeah, like I find that side of stuff really, really interesting.
Yeah.
It's just so even like your eyewitness accounts, that same thing could happen, but you're going to get a different perspective on it from,
I think that's so crazy that you're saying, Brett. Every single eyewitness was saying it's the same color. There's those similarities, the same response, all of
The
those
takeaways.
similarities
Mm.
between all of those eyewitness accounts, and that's how you know they're credible, right? Because you can
Right.
pick up that the validity between those I guess the markers within each eyewitness report.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, there was like newspaper articles, so there was mass hysteria. So people are like, I think I saw it too. Yeah, 10-foot wingspan. So you kind of like just automatically, play into that factor. But when you're interviewing somebody who, again, who has seen it, it's the way that they react, it's the way that they tell the story, and then they give you those key points that you're now matching to another eyewitness that they know that they didn't talk to, that you're getting those key takeaways that match. And so that's it's a crime scene and you have to kind of puzzle yourself through it. And even the first time or the second time around, you're not going to get the details right. You really have to take the time. I'm a deep diver. I don't just go surface level. I'm not going to go to Google and pick the first two articles and believe that these guys know their crap. Sorry. No, I need to go to the archive. I need to go to the newspapers. And I don't mean like, a website where somebody stored newspaper. Like I actually go to like the actual resources. So I always tell people, Google is a great place for resource research where you can go and get to the websites like ancestry.com who's doing the work and cataloging the archive for you. But don't trust Google and just anybody wanting to post stuff on Google or making their blog or their opinion because if you listen to all those people, oh my God, like
or
freaking A.
Reddit, like
It's a
Reddit's
mess.
become the new encyclopedia of the world, hasn't it?
That's, yep. I
Everybody goes
can't.
to Reddit. You're like, oh, okay.
I hang up my phone many days when I get posts. Well, this person in Reddit said this and that. That means that what you're saying is wrong because they're an expert. Okay, what are they an expert in? Can you tell me? Because
Yeah,
I'd like to know. And I don't like that egotistical vibe. It really makes
yeah,
me mad. I don't like that. Like that's where we fall short in the field is when we get too many egos involved
yeah,
and nobody's willing to support the next person. It's
yeah,
a big pet peeve of mine. I'll end on that one because I know I got to go, but like
yeah.
Yeah.
that is, and I can rant on that for like an hour. Like I have seen so many great people come into this field who want to really do well and have some amazing ideas that would level us up, but they're attacked out the gate by these egotistical a-holes that just because you've been in your little forest, 30 freaking acres of your forest, and you think you know everything and you have all the answers, bucko, you don't. Like,
Yeah.
where's your proof then? Where's your video footage? Where's your data? Let me see. I have hair samples. I've got foot casts. I've got shit I've sent to Meldrum. What that doesn't, I have labs in North Carolina and other places I've sent stuff to have tested. That doesn't mean that I'm an expert. We all are collecting the same stuff, but we don't have a physical body yet. Like the ego is so, and it's caused those people to not want to be in the field anymore. And that
It's
makes me
also
mad.
caused witnesses. You know, Lisa and I have come across witnesses that have gone, they've already dealt with somebody in a field that we were looking into, and they're just like, I just don't want to
They're
talk to
done.
you anymore because of the way that they were treated by the said person,
Yeah.
and it wasn't just them, it was like many others. And so, so they won't come out, they won't share their stories because of, the from the person interviewing them, that so-called expert interviewing them. It's yeah,
Yep.
so that's a big part of it as well, it's yeah.
Brittany, we love you.
We
You're the
do.
coolest.
We know you've got to
Bring so
I
much
go.
love you, ladies.
fire. You just bring so much fire. Don't always stay true to who you are because we absolutely
Thank
love
you.
the fact that you're part of what we do. We're so happy that we found you. You're such a valuable part of just motivating us and driving forward Cryptid Women's Society to create some balance, some change within the space that we work in. And all of our members that are a part of Cryptid Women's Society just absolutely love the fact that they get to talk to you. What did Lacey send the other day? She was sitting, one of our
Oh,
members
yeah.
was sitting watching the Lost Monster Files on TV
Uh,
with kids, and she was like, "Oh, I know Britt, we're friends." And her kids were like, "There's no way you're friends with Brittany because they're watching you on TV." And so she sent
yeah.
a text message, right?
Yeah. I was at dinner and I looked down, I get this phone number. I'm like, who is this? And I was like, oh, I was like, hey, yeah, it's me. How are you? Like, I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, yeah, it's me.
Well,
Her
I
kids
did
were
that with
like,
the UFO
"No."
shows. I did that with UFO shows and with Ben, and all of a sudden you pop up, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Hey, what the? I had no idea you were into UFOs. I was just like, oh my
I've done it all, man. I've done it all. And I love it. I've done it all. I'm so
Yeah.
invested. I mean, look at my office. You can see
Oh,
I have a little bit of
oh,
everything,
we,
but
we need
yeah.
to have a whole discussion about UFOs. That is going to be our next discussion
Oh
because
my gosh, Brittany, we have held you up for way longer than
yeah,
what you were meant to be here
It's all
for.
good.
thank
It's
you
all
Thank
so
good.
you so
much.
much. Brittany, tell everyone real quick where they can find you. Give a quick little rundown. Prop yourself there. Go for
And
it.
you were just on the July Ghosted magazine as well. You were
Yes.
She had the front cover there and a good article in there. So go check that out, people.
Yes, yes. Do please go to Ghost Magazine. Please give that a follow as well. Really good people there getting that together. I have a Facebook page, but it's mostly just for like family, friends, people that I don't mind sharing like personal pictures of my kids with. So I don't really like select. I don't really accept a lot of people on my Facebook. I have a fan Facebook page that's out there. That one you can just follow. You don't have to like send a request. But I am extremely active on my social media and on Instagram at Brittany underscore Barbieri underscore. You can find me right away. That's where I'm so heavily active on that every day. People can interact with me there anytime. I don't have TikTok. I get a headache with TikTok. I can't do it. But yeah, so that is where I heavily interact, and I have my links in my bio are like my website, my clothing company, The other places that I'm connected to and work at, like the Cryptid Women's, they're in my link, as well as I'm the creative director, on the board of directors for the Crocodile Research Foundation here in the United States that works with the Crocodile Research Coalition in Belize to help preserve and help people coexist with crocodiles and understand the importance of them in the ecosystem for conservation efforts. So heavily into conservation with that and helping the ecosystem and other animals that matter, which also falls into cryptozoology, which is nice because I'm bringing that into the field again in wildlife biology through that field. So yeah, all of that information is on my Instagram, and my Instagram is not like a professional, like don't expect to go on there and be like, I'm Brittany Barbieri in the field. I have skits I do with friends.
She's
I'm a
funny.
completely different character with my one friend. I'm an obsessive fan in a wig. Like I'm living life, and I feel like that's what all of us need to do. I don't think we should live in a shell or a niche that, I'm real. I'm a real person who likes to make people laugh and feel good aside from my professional work. So that's kind of, if you follow my page, you follow all of me, and you better buckle up. That's all I got to say.
It's a ride.
It's a ride.
It's so good. It's so
cool.
So
Well,
good.
thank you so
Brittany.
much.
You're the best. Thank you for joining us. We're going to stick around and keep talking, and Brittany's going to head out and probably go to sleep because it's probably quite late.
Yes. It is 9:30. Yes.
Thank you so much. You are amazing. If you want to come and be more involved with Brittany and get kind of, one-on-ones and be able to ask her those questions and learn from her, come and jump onto Cryptid Women's Society. All you have to do is get a membership. You're in. You get to have one-on-one conversations. All of
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
We love you, Britt. You are the best.
Love you, ladies. Be safe.
I love you, Brits.
Don't hurt any possums. I'm just kidding. I know, the warmers.
You're getting them in the mail.
Do it. Do it.
We will.
Bye.
Bye, darling.
Darling.
We love you.
Bye. I love
Oh, so now we have to go shopping for nipple warmers.
I haven't seen you around for a while.
Yeah. Better write a note about that one.
Nipple warmers.
We are probably going to get banned for saying that word. It's a real thing, YouTube. Okay, it's a real thing in New Zealand.
Look it up.
Jules, we've had bucket loads of comments come in on YouTube. I didn't want to stop the conversation to go through the comments, but I just want to point out that people have been commenting. It's awesome.
Yeah.
We love everyone that's joined us today. Thank you so, so much. We can go back through them. We're going to keep talking, but everyone that's jumped on and watched today and commented, thank you. We love you all, and that was so interesting, man. Talk about mind blowing, right? And you've got to love Brittany because she's one of the only researchers that I know that really truly goes deep diving into it. Far more than
like you're saying, she goes against the grain. It's just like, even though there's like been this belief, and now we can kind of understand her nervousness about talking about the Mothman because it is such an iconic feature. This creature that has is so many people love Mothman. We're talking millions of people. It's not like it's just like, got 1,000 people down the road. This whole town base its whole tourism, and the reason money comes into this town and keeps this town going is because of the Mothman and because of the legend around the Mothman. So,
and I tell you what, Jules, like I spoke to Brittany via text message before she went up on to talk and stuff, and I said to her, "You're going to be amazing, go and have a great time." She goes, "Oh my God, I'm so nervous because of what I'm taking, because of what I'm about to say. I don't know if they're going to accept it. I don't know if I'm going to be booed off stage. I don't know if they'll be happy with it. I'm really like shitting myself, super nervous." And so I just said to her, just go and own it. So long as you've done the research and you know what you're bringing, just go and own it. And by all accounts, that's what she did. And at the same time, I understand why that's not being talked about. Because I would have expected I know there was no phones in there was no video footage, like you weren't allowed to do that, but I would have expected some more people to potentially talk about it. And people talk about things that are in their favor. right?
Yeah.
That they agree with and that their belief systems agree with, and their, like you say, their reality is in line with that. And when somebody comes to you and says, here you go, I've got receipts and here's the information you need to know, if it doesn't quite align with your belief system, it's very, very hard to swallow, right? It's a
And
hard.
that's it. If you've only followed the social media side of stuff and you haven't looked into the facts, or you've followed those people gone saying these are the facts, but they're not actually the facts. So it's probably throwing people, and you don't want to burst their bubble, and you don't want to take that little dream away that this giant Mothman is flying around. It's because for people, the reality is that this Mothman is real. He's there, he's still flying around. He's been seen here in Australia, he was in Chicago, he's been seen in Canada and Russia and many other places around the world. Apparently this Mothman has been. So
but I mean, it's
yeah.
interesting, right? So number one, the indescribable Octo Man, hey bro, what up?
I do.
And also Kelsey's here, or Michelle is here as well, and thanks for joining us, girl. He mentioned the Moth Boys over in West Virginia, and we know those guys, and they are mint, and they bring such good content, and we love them to pieces.
Yeah.
And one day we're going to go and hang out with them and probably get really drunk and probably get
There's
banned
been
from West.
made.
We're going to get banned from West Virginia or somewhere. Something bad will happen. But is it like, we talk about quite often with the paranormal space, when you're thinking about something so much and there's so many people that are thinking about the same thing and bringing that idea, do we bring that into reality? So yes, the initial Mothman sightings and the initial encounter that Brittany was talking about as far as her research goes, and the credibility and the sightings and that sort of stuff, showing that it was most likely a bird of prey. Did we then create hysteria around it, keep driving it forward, and then manifest this type of being that looks different than what the original sightings were into fruition to fly around Chicago, Melbourne, Russia? Is this what happened? Because we saw that happen on the paranormal shows, right? There was a television show that did this.
It's actually been proven that you can go in and the Kindred Spirits, I think, was one of them that did it, and that they were basically, the spirit had come in and taken over this house, and so they went in and they made up a story about whatever this spirit was doing. I think they were in the barn hanging, they made up the spirit, and then they went back in and went, who's here? And it basically said its name, and it was kind of basically spurted out the story of what they were talking about in there. So and it's not the only program that's done it. There is these things, they talk about young teenage girls mainly, that poltergeist activity is because of young hormonal teenage girls, that there's like all this stuff going on that they can manifest like this activity.
Sure.
That's not every poltergeist activity, but there is seen that so it's really it is really interesting. I mean, that's it. What is it?
I mean, are we just in a matrix, like, are we in a holographic matrix? And I've heard this a couple of times, different theories around kind of what we're living in. We do believe in manifestation, right? You and I believe it. We manifest money all the time. Money just shows up in our wallets. It shows up in the bank account. We manifest pathways for career progression, jobs, cars, all of that sort of stuff. And we firmly believe that if you get on the right frequency or whatever, you can manifest things that happen in your life. And all you have to do, I guess, is if you look at religion, if you look at prayer, for example, you will go into a church, you pray to heal someone, and that person is healed. So neurolinguistics training or neurolinguistic programming says that the more people thinking about one thing or focusing their energy into one thing manifesting, essentially, it will happen. So if we're creating this mass hysteria about this entity that no longer looks like the original sightings and encounters, we're now manifesting this moth-like being with red eyes, no neck, which is the total opposite of what those first encounters said. All of a sudden he looks like a black flying,
which no longer becomes a biological creature, does it?
sure.
It can become something else. So
it
may look like, yeah, it may look like, yeah, it's very
oh, let's go into that for a second. Is this a spiritual entity that's gone, oh, I can see they're creating this kind of manifestation of something. I'm going to embody that, and I'm going to take that kind of view or that sort of entity that they're talking about, and I'm going to be that.
Yeah. Or is it a demonic energy that's playing on that kind of, because you've got to kind of throw the two of them up. I mean, I don't think like a lot of the sightings, it's not really, I haven't honestly gone into like all the latest sightings. So it's not seen as like a demonic energy and such. I mean, some people are really terrified by what they see. But other people, like in Chicago, for example, it was seen on the top of buildings, and again, it could have been like this giant migrating bird that's got a little bit lost and is sitting up there, or people saying, oh, I've seen it sitting over here, or
the harbinger of doom, or an omen of.
And how interesting is that? A year between the sighting and the bridge collapsing, whereas in the narrative that is put out there about Mothman is that he was seen days, almost maybe a week or something,
a couple of weeks after,
before this bridge collapsed, and it wasn't. There was a whole year. There was.
I did not realize that. I did not realize that Mothman was seen a year after, or like the bridge collapse.
Yeah,
he was seen a year prior, and then the bridge collapsed.
Yeah, so that's really, so that's it. That's a really big part of how that story has been twisted to fit a narrative to keep people interested, and those, the journalists and the writers, oh, this is just going to keep making, this is a great story, and people will keep buying it if, they put their spin on it, like we're saying. And we've always said this, people will have their own agenda. Even scientists will have their own agenda. They say that they don't, but they've always got their own biases of what actually goes into the science sometimes, especially when it comes to like the paranormal, supernatural, and kind of those fringe sciences where they don't want it needs to fit the narrative of what the government and what the churches want, and and all that kind of stuff. It's something that we have discussed many times.
So this is where I was literally going to go with it. Is this being done on purpose to dilute cryptozoology, ufology, paranormal investigation, right? So Brittany talked about that kind of dilution, or that interference within kind of that, like these sciences, which they are as they stand. Cryptozoology is 100% a science because it just comes from conservation and the law of the land, the indigenous stories. And so is this purposeful deceit, intentional deceit of said government or people or whoever it is in the control? Same way they talk about the dinosaurs and the mainstream narrative and the timelines and all of ancient civilizations and all of the above stuff, to maintain the dilution and the silliness that gets put into the laughability, the ridiculousness, you're searching for this, why would you, because it's just so silly, and the indigenous people don't know what they were talking about, and blah 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 blah, and now you're trying to hunt for Bigfoot and blah blah, all this sort of rubbish, to stop great research being done and these creatures, these animals, to not be found for whatever nefarious purposes they've got going on.
Oh no, Lisa's gone down a rabbit hole.
Down she goes.
Same time next week, guys. You're going to find out all about it.
Down she goes.
It's way too deep for me now.
Oh my God. So quickly I go down into a conspiracy.
It is. It's,
I mean, there's all these little threads. I wish I had a cork board so I could draw the threads between the FBI cases, That'd be great. But so interesting. What a fantastic conversation with that woman. We could have totally kept going for far, far, far longer, and I'm sure that we will get her back on the show at some point. Jules, is there anything else on your radar right now?
This could take a while, and we need to finish that. Garth Brooks. What's going on with Garth Brooks? Like, oh my God.
Garth.
Yeah,
Brooks is a
it's been
country
brought to
western
our
singer.
attention that Garth Brooks could be a serial killer. What?
A serial killer. He's a wonderful singer and he's a cowboy. What do you
Oh
know?
my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I mean, we're just hitting on this. You know, people are talking about it, so we're just gonna kind of put stuff out there. Let us know what you think. You know, we found some stuff out about Garth Brooks, which is kind of a little bit odd, to say the least. I mean, as you know, for those who don't know, he's a country singer. He's been singing for many, 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 many years. So he's like, all these stories have been coming out about how there are all these missing persons around all his concert venues and this kind of stuff. He's said to have a bit of a split personality, which is something that was really new. I never knew about. Or an alternative personality, or, you know, so people are kind of giving it different names, called Chris Gaines. So he's a fictitious persona. So he's supposedly this Australian rock artist. So he released an album in September of 1999. And this, from what I've got about it, is that there was supposed to have been a movie made, but the movie never got made, but an album was released, and like in 1999, and he was supposed to be this Australian rock artist that was a sex addict, with, you know, just features. He bombed the whole thing, like the whole album bombed pretty bad. But apparently he's done a couple of albums, and he did some concerts.
Chris Gaines?
As is Chris Gaines. He's given interviews, and there was a documentary made, and apparently when he comes out as Chris Gaines, like, he does not break character. He is that person in interviews, where he's doing his music or all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I mean, there's been allegations against, and I'm just leave it there, about Garth Brooks for many years about different things. But yeah, it was very, very interesting. I never knew about that. So, I mean, he's always been a little bit odd for me anyway. Matthew Cox did a book called Bodies in Low Places. Now, this is where a lot of this serial killer stuff comes from. He, in and around the concerts and stuff that he's done, so I'm just want to, there are about over 120 missing persons and 90 unsolved crimes all around where these concerts have been done. So it goes back to, so this guy's done a lot of investigating. He's done research and stuff. He had like 3 or 4 people researching all this. And he goes, one of the things that is really quite interesting is that when he was at college in Oklahoma, or Oklahoma College or something like that, there was a girl that was murdered that was there at the same time as him, and she was murdered. And she only lived a few miles away. So that was kind of like one of the first kind of cases that they came across. When they said that he was originally into rock music, but then he decided to go to country, and then he moved to Nashville, worked at a place called the Boot Barn, where 3 people went missing from around when he worked there. Okay. So then his album comes out. He makes a bit of money. And then the first thing he did, he got about $500,000 check, right? So this is in Nashville. And so one of the first things he did is that he went out and brought around 20 to 30 acres of land. Nothing on it. So this was his first check. So they were, they think this is really strange because he didn't go and buy a car, he didn't buy this, he didn't buy that. He just bought this land. So that was like the first thing that he made. In and around this time when he brought this land and afterwards, there are a spike in missing persons in this area, and they've never been found. So, and then when he's been on tour, okay, so 1 to 5 miles away where all these missing persons and these unsolved crimes and stuff have all kind of happened. So pretty much where he's been having all these concerts and stuff, there's been missing persons. So I just found it really, really interesting. What are people's thoughts on Mr. Garth Brooks being a serial killer? I just thought, I just find it really strange. It's also said that he will never ever go off script when he does interviews. He'll never do a podcast. He'll never go and do a live interview. Everything is scripted.
Oh, that would make sense in the video that we're about to show, because from an acting perspective, right? You and I have been actors for many, many years. We've been on stage, we've been on screen. You can always tell when somebody is either reading from the video prompter or they're reading from memory. Doesn't matter how good of an actor you are, you either memorize your lines and you say it straight like that, or you improv, right? There is a big difference between improving and reading scripted lines. And I was like, you're weird. Why are you so weird? And then I realized that makes sense. He's reading, he's scripted.
Yeah. He's very, very scripted. And they're just like, like I said, Lisa, there's just something, it's in the eyes, man.
Why do you have to be so scripted, right?
Yeah.
Being so scripted means deceit, right? Means that there is something behind you being genuine. Being genuine means you use your hands, you have idiosyncrasies that you do that the other person doesn't do. You have little things you do. Eyebrows are a real thing. So when you're talking naturally, your eyebrows work with the emotion that you're generating from the words that you're saying and how you're feeling. When you're scripted, your eyebrows work in different ways. That was one of the things that we went through for mannerisms when we started doing characterization training. You always make sure that your eyebrows are lifted, whatever, at the right time, because otherwise it throws it totally. And it's because you're not emotionally connected enough to what you're saying. Because it's scripted. So
even Josh Grogan has tried to get him on and try to get him, so many people have tried it, but he it's just very interesting that all these missing persons are around, and
they've overlapped the maps, haven't they? I've seen those
overlapping maps, but also going by the description. So he says, so there could be 50 homicides or whatever, but he says it's specific descriptions, 6 foot male, brown hair, and some of the descriptions are very, very
thank you.
and some of the descriptions are very, very interesting as to it's like the same kind of description that's been given over. I mean, this spans over 20 years, people. This isn't just like, this is over 20 years. And so that's why he found it really, really interesting, the fact that this murder happened like about 2 to 3 miles away from where he was at the same time as this girl. So they didn't dive into whether he knew this girl or whether she was in the same class as him or anything, but they're like, was this his first?
And obviously this is all speculation and allegation.
Absolutely.
And like, I guess as a famous person, you put yourself in this position to be scrutinized, and it's horrible that we even do this, but we're going to do it either way. I've got a video to show.
Because it's a conspiracy. Let's look into it.
Sure. You want to watch my video?
Watch it.
Hold on. I'm going to show you it, okay? Are you ready?
We're ready. Do it.
I'm going to do it. I might do it.
You might not.
Hold on. Please hold. Minimize. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I did it. Okay, hold on 1 second. We'll just readjust that guy. And let's see if I can get him up nice and big. We're just going to watch a video of weird Garth Brooks It's called Garth Brooks Being Super Creepy. So if you're only listening to this, you might just want to fast forward like 15 seconds.
Oh, you
Um,
can hear it, but yeah.
or you can listen, but it's all in the eyes, like Juliet says, it's all in the eyes. So are you ready? We're going to play.
Play.
And my dream is for us to love one another, all of us. Let's go have some fun and let's get physical playing music. I like that thought. This, thank you for my life. God bless you guys.
The fake smile.
I love this. Thank you. Instagram, it's on. Hashtag Ask Garth. Ask me anything, okay? Hashtag happy. Hashtag Garth. Hashtag Mr. Earwood. Oh, hashtag you're it. Just a blaring on a radio, blaring. This is going to be good. I'm saying today is the day. Celebrate. It's the Queen's birthday, so I'm taking over all her socials, asking you to post. Hashtag happy birthday, Tricia. I know. Ask me how I know.
Oh, nope. I don't want to ask you how we know it all. No, you're weird. You're a strange little man.
Yeah. And that, I mean, there's many other videos that are out there that are just like he's just he's very odd.
Very interesting. It'll
Yeah,
be
definitely look up, you can go onto YouTube, look up Chris Gaines, which is just CHRIS and GAINES, and there are interviews, there is the music that's on there.
Which was when he was younger, right? So it's like emo kind of pop guy.
Yeah. So, but it was the whole thing about that character is that he made that character up. It wasn't a studio coming to him, it was him. That character was made by him. So they're like, is it a split personality?
Yeah.
Is it something else going on? Is it
We always joke about actors being schizophrenic and having personalities, and same with musicians obviously as well, because we're all really good at kind of compartmentalizing emotions and kind of putting it on and then taking it off. So maybe be very interesting to see what happens in the future.
Yeah. So go check it out. But yeah, no, all you need to do is just go on and look them up, and there's just a lot of stuff. So I just thought it was really interesting. Just, a new conspiracy floating around it. I mean, it's been around for a while. Obviously, there's been books books have been written and stuff like that. So people are kind of really looking into it. But they're like, well, they must know. It's that's that typical Hollywood thing. They know that there's stuff going on.
Oh, sure.
Not going to say anything. Is it getting, swept under the carpet? Who knows?
Yeah, the number of serial killers that have been very well-known, popular musicians, actors, producers, Hollywood personalities, all of the above, and then you've got all the other bits and pieces that they like to get into as well. So yeah, that's certainly not surprising. It wouldn't surprise me.
Or is it somebody that has been with him the whole time? Is there a manager? Is there somebody else? Is there somebody that has been with him? Because obviously that's not every single concert. Yeah, he's done thousands. So is there, I think outside the box, is there somebody else that has been with him in his entourage with those, and he's just a very strange man?
He's just a performer that has weird split personality issues, and one of his entourage is
that's it. Is there somebody else? So,
or does it go a little bit deeper into things like, satanic ritual abuse and other things like that, and rituals and everything else? Because we know that,
part of Hollywood.
To get famous, you got to sell a part of you. Full stop. But that's not what this show's about. Well, but
occasionally we like to pick up a little conspiracy theory and have fun with it, and
we shall see.
Are there any comments there that you'd like to read out from anyone? Thank you, everybody.
Michelle says that's putting it mildly, Lisa. Thanks. Appreciate that. Oh, no, this just has been so much fun. And I have an announcement to make really quickly. I held it to the very, very last second. We want to say the biggest congratulations to one of our founding members. Her name is Heather Moser, and she is a part of Small Town Monsters. She's actually a researcher. She is the Chief Creative Officer, lead researcher, and editor-in-chief of the Small Town Monsters publishing franchise. And basically, she goes out and does all sorts of bits and pieces around making videos, documentaries. She's been keynote speaking at lots of workshops and conferences and expos and things like that lately. And she has secured the spot, or been invited to be one of the Masters of Ceremonies for the Ohio Bigfoot Conference in Salt Fork in 2026. Alongside Courtney Breedlove, I beg your pardon, I probably said her name wrong. Heather will be the official Master of Ceremonies for that conference. And hey, Jules,
do we want to be there?
Should we go?
Be there.
Should we go? It's 2026. Okay, let's put that one in the diary.
Yeah,
imagine being able to.
May.
Let's go and it's in May. Yeah, May the 2nd, I believe. Let's go and support Heather and Courtney, Masters of Ceremonies, women doing amazing things, running the show, phenomenal founding members, and let's get over there. Let's get our butts to America next year.
Yeah, we definitely. It's been a long time coming. Hopefully, Trump will let us in.
Maybe not. Oh no, you're fine. You're a New Zealander. We're New Zealanders.
We're New Zealanders. We're fine.
We're Kiwi.
Yeah.
No, that's so yeah, big ups to her. Congratulations. Massive step in the right direction for putting women on the map. As far as cryptozoology, Bigfoot, searching, all of the above.
Yeah.
And that's just truly phenomenal.
And she's such a well-respected person within the industry.
Professor. Yeah, she's amazing. So, and you could come and talk to Heather if you wanted to, alongside Brittany, because all you have to do is get yourself a membership to be part of the Cryptid Women's Society. All you have to do is pop over to cryptidwomensociety.com and become a truth seeker, and you get to be a part of the conversation, a part of the VIP interviews that we do. We do special interviews there with lots of different amazing men and women in our Shadowtalk that we haven't put out to the public. You get to be part of our dungeon, Juliet, R18. You could be
she mentions me every time she says
the dungeon is all her. You're going to be a part of the gathering. Good, solid conversations with amazing people. We will be putting together some courses. The Academy will be up and running really, really soon. There's a whole heap of cool stuff in there, alongside the Arcane Library, where we have amazing resources, documents, research files, books, all of the above. So
and the place for all those people and all these women, I should say. Well, and guys, if you want your research papers and you want your books to go into our library to have access to people who are interested in our industries, that's the fantastic thing about it. It's not like you're trying to reach, find those 10,000 people within 50 million. It's like everybody that comes into our membership is about cryptozoology, is about paranormal, ufology. We're all within this industry. So we are a prime spot for your books, for your research, if you're trying to get it out there and you want people to read it.
100%. Beautiful work. I love your work, Juliet. I love you. You're an amazing person.
I love you too. We are getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. Thank you everyone for listening and watching and joining the show and commenting. And if you've got any comments, if you want us to delve into a specific topic, if you've got a certain thing that you want us to talk about, drop us a line. You can pop over to Instagram. We're super active over there. We have our Facebook page running at the moment as well, which is great. Jump into there, send us a message, send us an email, drop it in here. Please share, help us out. Let's get this movement cranking. And I will see you next week, Jules. Hey, do you know what's happening next week, Jules?
Vampires?
It's vampires, baby. I got my vampire teeth out. And we have a special guest. We have the amazing Raven Lee coming to talk to us. And she is going to talk about, I think, New Orleans vampires. So you
We're
have
talking
got-
modern day vampirism.
Yeah.
It's such an eye opener. It is really, really interesting, you know, because like we all go, oh yeah, modern day vampires, blah, blah. There are so many different aspects to kind of these areas, and some terrible stories have been coming out that we may not be able to release on here.
I don't know. I don't know anything about vampires other than
Dracula.
Farm Castle. That's all I know about. So it's going to be an eye opener for me, and I might sit there and just shut up and let Juliet and Raven talk.
But yeah, no, I'm super excited about it. There's going to be some really cool stuff, and you'll come in and learn about different types of vampires and the different levels, and they don't all drink blood. You know, that's not a big part of it. So there is like certain parts of it. Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
Don't even know. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait.
Come join us for vampire. Maybe I should wear vampire fangs. We should.
I might get some fangs. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how we go. Hey, it's lovely talking to you. Thanks everyone for joining us. We will see you same bat time, same bat channel next week. And love to you all. Kiss, kiss.
Bye.
Aww.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm doing the thing.
You're doing the thing. Do the thing with it. Do the thing.
Bye everyone. We love you.
Bye. We just have to stay in a little bit longer because we got told we cut it off too soon.
Yeah, everyone.
Oh my God.